Hi
Scott.
guys, how are you?
Hey,
Great.
thanks.
How are
How you
you?
doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you very much. Congrats on the show.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
There's so much to unpack with this show, so we've got 10 minutes, so let's try and unpack
Fire away.
all the stuff that happens on this lovely luxury liner. Um, Joshua, starting with you. That name, the absurdly brilliant name, Dr. Max Bankman, which, if you say it wrong, could go a horrible, horrible ways. Tell me how it was all kind of pitched to you, in terms of the show and the what they were trying to do with it, and the kind of the comedy mixed with the doctor side of things. How was it
The
kind of
drama.
pitched to you
Yeah.
in the first instance?
Well, the first conversation that I had with Ryan was less about it. Honestly, it was way less about the medical piece of it, and it was more just the concept or the theme of having a show that was kind of the antithesis of a lot of what is out there in television. We were doing a lot of very heavy dramas and very heavy, like meaty things where bad things are happening to bad people, and he said, I just want to make a light show where the dialogue is fast and zippy, and you like the characters, and you go there for an hour, and you just feel better at the end of the hour. And I was like, yeah, man, I would love that idea, because I've been playing a lot of morally dubious men, um, who are in difficult life circumstances, and I would love to just go and do something that is light and front-footed, and feels kind of off the cuff, and then comes together the cast and the scripts, and then finally stepping onto these stages and realizing that it was way more than what he was describing. He wanted to build this fantasy place, right? This beautiful, perfectly designed, always polished, everything in its right place, like environment for us as an audience to come to for an hour and just kind of check whatever was going on during the week there for 45 minutes and just hang out with these people and be like, okay, I can just breathe here.
It is nice sometimes with television because there's a lot of like serial killers and true
Yeah,
crime, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
This one has a nice floaty atmosphere, a nice sun-drenched kind of
yeah,
thing to it, which
exactly.
is good. Philippa, what was the pitch to you? Because Avery is such an interesting character. I just wondered for you, what was the lure of her in amongst this world on the sea?
I was very drawn to uh, her independence, her confidence in herself, especially in her profession. Her drive, I thought was really exceptional. And just in terms of the piece as a whole, I loved the language. I thought, it had been such a long time since I had read something that was Josh used this phrase earlier today, front-footed. It sort of was very lifted. It reminded me a lot of the television shows that I grew up watching. And I think tonally and stylistically, this idea of an escape felt really interesting to me. And certainly the challenge of playing a doctor and playing a nurse and a medical professional and sort of pulling that off was exciting. I'd never gotten to do something like that before. And the Ryan Murphy of it all was, I think, the biggest part of all of that because he is such a visionary. He has such specificity in all of the stories that he tells. And I was really excited. It sounded like something that I'd never seen or heard of before, and I was very much excited by that.
I'm a huge fan of Scrubs, which is obviously, set in a hospital. My wife is, or my soon-to-be wife is a big fan of Grey's Anatomy, and obviously I like House as well. So all this medical vernacular always becomes kind of the challenge of playing the characters because you have to deal with things like I think there's like a thing with thoracic surgery and outbreaks of venereal disease and all of these things happening. Did you find the medical jargon harder than anything else in this show? Because it's certain things that you have to make sure you get right, especially when you're dealing with some things that you wouldn't normally say in real life. Maybe Philippa, I'll chat that to you first.
Yeah, well, I feel very lucky that I have a reference source at my disposal, which is my father, who is a doctor. So oftentimes I will send him a voice memo or a text and say, "Can you just send me back a voice memo with this word? How do I pronounce that?" Um, but then also, I think I'm just grateful for this toolbox that I've acquired over the past 15 years, well, 20 years, and getting to really use all of those tools. I mean, there'll be days when I'm like reaching deep down to try and remember how to say how to say some of these things. And I have even said out loud, like, I think my soul just left my body because I'm focusing so hard to try and pull these things off. Um, but I'm grateful for it, and it's definitely a challenge. And the great part is that this environment, it's such a, a really like a beautiful group of people that we're working with, and everybody is like super enthusiastic. So whenever I do something really well after like a long day of like, let's say a struggle, our medical technician will just be like, that was so great, like you really pulled that off, it really looked like you put in that IV line, like wow, it was so great. And I'm like, thank you, I really really need that. So that helps too, having people around you who are cheering you on.
Yeah. Joshua, for you, I mean, you just played a lawyer in Fatal Attraction, a show which I really, really enjoyed actually. So, what was harder, playing the lawyer side of the world or playing the doctor side of the world? Because there's a lot of specificity in those two.
Um, linguistically, I mean, Dr. Max is just a happier person. So it's being on this show is an easier experience just in general because that was a Fatal Attraction is just a heavy space. But linguistically, it's definitely Doctor Odyssey. There are some things that there is because I also have a reference in my life, which is my brother. So I use him often because there are things that I have to say on this show that not only I don't know how to pronounce or what they mean, also important. I can't even find a reference. Like Dr. Google does not help. There, I can't even find a reference for how to say some of these things, or what this procedure is, or having my brother describe to me like in extreme layman terms. Please tell me what it is that I'm doing if I'm doing da 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 da. He's like, okay, well, walking me through first year med school stuff. Like, oh, okay, got it. So yeah, it's harder, and the lawyer language, except for when it gets into Latin, is our spoken word just precise. Doctor language is like Greek. It is, the some of the things that we are saying just don't have any reference to the way you speak to another human or topics that you're like. It's so abstract, so it gets hard sometimes to be able to say them.
And also for a lawyer, like you're in an environment where like there's like a large thought that you sort of
Yes.
you're building upon,
Yes.
like the beginning, the middle, the end, the conclusion of your thought that you're, presenting it, whatever, for your case.
Yeah.
This is like high stakes emergency situation.
Abstraction. Yeah.
Right. So not only are we trying to communicate, there's things coming in our way, there's all of these obstacles physically, emotionally, dialogue wise, information that we have to get out in a certain amount of time. Oh my gosh, the buzzers go, the beep, there's something's beeping. We have to like as you can see, it's like frantic. So being able to like ground yourself as a performer so that you can like get through the things that you need to get through, and then play it high stakes and play the sort of elevated frantic nature of what's happening around you. It's, it's a fun but difficult balance to strike.
Yes.
Yeah. What's that set like? What's that set like? Because I can imagine, I obviously seen like things like Titanic where they built most of the ship, and obviously you guys are doing it for television, but the set looks incredible. What was it like for you
It,
guys stepping onto that? Because it's just like I can imagine for you guys, you step onto a set and you might step onto a street or you might step onto, like a lawyer's office or something. Whereas this just step onto a boat, which is a very different thing. I just wonder what it was like for both of you stepping onto that set.
I mean, it really sets the tone of the show.
Mm.
Like, I find both the wardrobe and the sets for me are the two. Like, I feel different stepping into our stage. We're built on stage at Paramount, but like, I feel different when I arrive in the morning than when I put on Max's dress whites and then step into the stage. They are so beautiful, but so meticulously designed, and the clothes are so specific, right? We're in the same thing, but They're tailored perfectly. The epaulets are exactly where they're supposed to be. The buttons, everything is thought of, and that to me is like it's the table setter for how we approach the day, because there's not a lot of I don't know in this show. It's just not that kind of show, right? It just everything is precise and has to keep on moving and has a certain cadence and pace that we're trying to hit every day.
It's so striking that when I see Josh or my other co-stars come in the morning wearing like their actual clothes, I'm like, whoa, this is what you look like. This is so crazy.
Can I just very quickly ask you both, very quickly before my time runs out, it's sort of in a very quick 1 or 2 word sentence, what the Shania Twain day or days were like having her on set? Because I was just like, oh my God, Shania Twain. So
I can do that
so quick.
in 2 words: Canadian royalty.
Yeah. It's not every day
She's
you get
so
that, is
fun.
it? You get Shania Twain coming onto your TV set.
I was definitely starstruck. I immediately like went to a place where I was like probably too nice, probably talked way too much, but I was just so excited and happy to be in the same space as her. I mean, she's an icon.
Yeah. And you've also got Don Johnson from Miami Vice. You know, it's kind of like, whoa, do
Yeah,
you get more
icons.
starstruck by?
Yeah. Who had Don Johnson dancing with Shania Twain on their bingo card for 2024?
Yeah. Whoever had that has cashed out,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Right, guys, I love the show. Thank you so much for your time.
All
Absolute
right.
pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey, you guys!